Okay, welcome back. Today, from a Math 116 class, we're going to talk about in section 7.1 ratios, and then in 7.2, I want to talk about proportions. So, first of all, I want you to think of uh, ratios as putting numbers into fractions and then express in lowest terms. So, take a look at number 1. 12 to 18. So we'd read from left to right. So that 12 would go first, it'd go on the top. 18 would go on the bottom. And in lowest terms means 12/18 would reduce to 2/3. Now in your calculator, you should have a math option. So all you'd have to do is say 12 divided by 18, hit your math and then fraction, and then that shows you that you got the correct fraction. Okay, now 4 feet to 18 inches. Well, 4 over 18 goes to 219. Or 2 over 9, I mean. 2/19. But is that correct? I'm going to say no. And the reason why is look at your feet to inches. Okay? So this would be wrong. So what I want to do is I want to take feet. How many inches are there in a foot? There's 12. So 4 times 12, that means there's 48 inches. So now what I can do is put 48 over 18. And 6 goes into both of those, 8 and 3. That's the answer I'm looking for. The next one is 100 to 10. So that is 100 over 10, which means that is 10. Now let's just say, for instance, this is not it, but let's just say if it was 10 to 100. Then what you would say is you would go 10 over 100 and then reduce it to 10 goes into itself one time, 10 goes into 100 10 times. What about 360 gallons to 18 acres? I know that makes absolutely no sense as far as conversions, but we're just doing a ratio. So if it asks you, what is the ratio gallon per acre? What is the ratio? You could go ahead and put 360 over 18. Then if you use your calculator, that means it's 20. And what that means is it's 20 gallon, because gallon is on top, acres are on the bottom, so it's gallon per acre. Think about like miles per hour. I mean, that's what we're looking at. It's rate. That's what that is. Okay. Next example is what about $70 in 2 hours? Well, we can reduce that to $35 over 1 hour, or in other words, it's $35 per hour. At any point of this, remember you can always pause it, go back, review it as many times as you want. Okay, say if you have a mixture of 95 pounds of sand and 15 pounds of lead. Okay, so the ratio we're going to say is 95 pounds of sand over 15 pounds of lead. Five goes into both. So you would say 19 of sand over 5 goes into 15 3 times of lead. And so that means it's For every 19 sand, you need 3 pounds of lead. Okay, finally, let's say you want to go to Myrtle Beach and it takes you 10 hours and you use a total of 25 gallons of gas. How many gallons do you use per hour? Well, the key on recognizing this is gallons per hour. So my gallons, even though hours comes first, I'm wanting to know gallons. So my gallons is 25 gallons per 10 hours. So this would be 5 over 2 or 2.5 gallon per hour. Okay, ratio and now that concludes the ratio. Now this is the proportion part. So anytime you have two, in this case we can say x over 4 is a fraction. Of course 36 over 48 is a fraction. So what we want to do is, we've heard the term cross multiply. So you want to take your 48 times x, I'm going to just say 48x, and then you want to say 4 times the 36. So that would be 48x equals, okay, so now what you want to do is you want to figure out 4 times 36, which comes out to be 144. And then you want to get rid of 48 by dividing, because that's multiplying, you do the opposite. So x equals 3. Another cool way to sort of check your work too, on this case, not all of them work out this perfectly, but if you want to check your work, 36 over 48, I know 12 goes into 36 3 times, 12 goes into 48 4 times. Look at 3/4. If I put that 3 in for x, right here, that is 3/4. That is a true statement. They're equivalents. That's what proportions are. Okay, what about this next one? So I always cross multiply first the letter or the variable, the x and the 20. And I'm going to say 20x equals, then I'm going to say 5 times 3. So that is 20x equals 5 times 3 is 15. So since that is 20 times x, what I'm going to do is divide by 20. And x equals 15 over 20. Or if you reduce it, because in lowest terms, that would be 3/4. Now we're using decimals. Don't let decimals scare us off. So I'm going to say 7.5. I'm going to multiply it by x equals 45 times 9.5. This gives me 7.5x equals, if you do 45 times 9.5, you should get 42.7.5. Then you divide it by 7.5. You get 57. Okay, now let's do a little word problem. Now, if you sell 150 candy bars at $75, how much do 60 cost? Now, some of us can do this in our head, which is perfectly fine, but not all of these are this simple. So, what I want to do is I want to take 50 candy bar or 150 candy bars over $75 equals, okay, where does that 60 go, top or bottom? Well, the 60 means candy bars. So that means the 60 goes on top with the 150 and X can go on the bottom. Now what we do is take 150 times X and then 75 times 60, which comes out to be 4,500. Divide by 150. And you should be able to get 30 candy bars. Now, some of us can use in our head when we see 150 and 75 is half, so you know it's 50 cents, so it's half. So you can say 60 divided by 2, or half of 60 gives you 30. But not all of them are that easy to recognize. Finally, if you have 200 shirts at $2,500, so 200 at 2,500, how much for 3,000? Well, in this case, 3,000 goes on the bottom because that is paired up with the $2,500. We want to find out what X is. So now what we want to do is we want to take 2,500X equals, now we want to do 200 times 3,000, which is going to be, if you put this in your calculator, it should be 600,000. Divide 2,500. And you should come up with 240 shirts. Now, for my Math 116 class, I want you all to do homework number 4 on WebAssign. Thank you for listening.